country submerged in chaos and fear. China, once celebrated for its meteoric rise from rural hardship to dazzling urban sprawl, now grapples with a cascade of calamities. Devastating floods in Hunan, an economy crumbling from Shanghai's gleaming towers to forgotten rural outposts, and a rising tide of public fury are shattering the Chinese Communist Party's carefully curated image. Behind the propaganda's gloss, dams teeter on the edge of failure, shopping districts lie abandoned, and heart-wrenching tales of families losing everything mount daily. This report delves into the numbers, the human cost, and the deepening cracks threatening to unravel the nation's core. Hunan's catastrophe, destruction beyond imagination. In Ximen County, vibrant markets have become watery wastelands. Ms. Chen, a fruit vendor, recounted how floodwaters obliterated her stall in mere minutes, wiping out 800,000 yuan in loan-funded inventory. "All I have left is debt," she whispered, her voice breaking. Nearby Fruit World supermarket suffered 1.5 million yuan in losses, with goods and equipment ruined despite desperate efforts to save them. Hunan faces its worst deluge since 1998, with unyielding rains rewriting weather records and transforming towns into inland oceans. At the Sanjusheng station on the Lishui River, feeding Dongting Lake, water levels hit 262 meters, 2.38 meters above the danger threshold, with a flow of 7,300 cubic meters per second. Neighborhoods vanished under the onslaught, claiming lives and livelihoods. Over 310 reservoirs in Chili, Changde, and Yuanling teeter at capacity. Dams like Xiangnan, Dongmen, and Sanjiang unleashed torrents to save themselves, drowning downstream villages. As residents flee to rooftops or hillsides, one truth emerges: Hunan's disaster signals a national crisis fueled by extreme weather, economic collapse, and eroding faith in the system. The devastating toll, homes and hopes washed away. The floods have obliterated more than buildings. They've claimed lives and left deep wounds. In Sili County, where the Lishui River joins its Laosan branch, entire villages are stranded, cut off from power, clean water, and passable roads. Desperate residents climb to higher floors as floodwaters rise relentlessly. A villager shared a harrowing video online. "For 2 days, the water hasn't stopped. We're on the 4th floor now, but it's still climbing. No help has come." A grieving mother in Ximen County recounted her loss. "My daughter was swept away trying to reach safety. We've searched for days, but she's gone. How do I live with this?" In Changde's Hukou town, the Lishui River's embankment teeters on collapse, with floodwaters engulfing streets and submerging countless homes. A local lamented, "We rallied 400 people for hours to save the riverbank, but it wasn't enough. Our village is now just sludge and sorrow." In Yuanling County, a temporary Xiangnan River bridge buckled under the deluge, with debris crashing downstream, compounding the destruction of already ravaged communities. Three Gorges Dam, China's looming catastrophe. The Three Gorges Dam, a colossus on the Yangtze River, now fuels nationwide dread. Overwhelmed by floodwaters from Hunan and nearby provinces, its reservoir risks overflow. At Yong Station, the Yangtze's water level hit 55 meters, 3 meters above the danger mark, prompting urgent releases that threaten downstream cities, including Wuhan's 11 million residents. Dr. Li Wei, a hydrologist at Sino University, warned, "Designed for a millennium flood, the dam is being tested beyond its limits. A failure would be apocalyptic." Social media buzzes with fear. If Three Gorges breaks, half of China drowns. Where can we run? The dam's practice of releasing muddy water to manage silt has intensified downstream flooding, as evidenced by the 2024 Honghu County levee failure, which uprooted thousands. Dongting Lake, the Yangtze's withering lifeline. Once celebrated as the Yangtze River's vital pulse, Dongting Lake now lies in ruins, a casualty of human greed and neglect. Its expanse has plummeted from 4,200 square kilometers in 1949 to under 2,000 today, choked by decades of reckless land reclamation and sediment buildup driven by CCP policy. The lake's aging dikes, thrown up in the 1950s and 1970s with shoddy construction, tremble under the fury of relentless floodwaters. Dr. Dong Liang, an ecologist at Nanjing University, warned, Dongting Lake has lost its ability to regulate floods or cleanse water. The three Gorges Dam's erratic cycle of hoarding water in dry seasons and unleashing silt-heavy torrents during rains has gutted its ecosystem. Today, 226 levees strain to hold back surging waters, but villages below lake level are already swallowed by the deluge. In Honghu County, residents seethed with anger at the CCP's negligence. A farmer, Mr. Liu, shared his despair. The government built these levees to look good on paper, but they've left them to rot. When the lake overflows, we're trapped like rats in a sinking ship. Last year's flood took my home, and now I'm losing everything again. The CCP cares more about its image than our lives. Another villager, Mitsuang, accused the authorities of a cover-up. They hide the death tolls and silence our cries for help. My neighbor drowned, but the officials claimed it was an accident. Where's the justice? Hunan's damages exceed 2 billion yuan, with impoverished families facing a lifetime to recover. Government aid, widely derided as a farce, sees officials stage photo ops before abandoning desperate communities. Economic collapse. Floods deepen a nation's despair. The floods are not just nature's wrath, but a devastating blow to an economy already teetering on the edge. In Shanghai, the population has crashed from 30 million to 25 million, with 380,000 fleeing in a single month, leaving behind hollow malls and desolate streets. A Shanghai blogger, Mr. Zhao, vented his fury online. Qibao's ancient alleys are dead. Cafes sit empty. The CCP sold us a dream of prosperity, but their corruption has turned Shanghai into a ghost town. He added, they censor our posts about job losses. Why? Because the truth exposes their lies. In Hunan, flood-ravaged businesses face extinction. A Ximen shopkeeper, Ms. Li, shared her anguish. We borrowed 800,000 yuan to keep our store running, but the flood destroyed everything. The CCP promised relief, but all we got were empty words and more debt. They build skyscrapers while we drown in despair. Zhejiang's Huzhu garment industry lies in tatters, with 80–90% of shops shuttered. And Shizhu vendor Mr. Chen raged, no customers come anymore. It's worse than the pandemic. The CCP's policies favor the rich. We're left to beg for scraps. Soaring unemployment has pushed workers into brutal gig jobs like delivery, where competition is cutthroat. A 24-year-old Shenzhen graduate, Ms. Zhang, lamented, my degree is useless. I'm drowning in debt, can't afford rent, and the CCP does nothing but silence us. They've stolen our future. These voices echo a broader truth. The CCP's mismanagement, prioritizing propaganda over people, has deepened the crisis. Censorship stifles cries for help while corruption siphons off relief funds. From Dongting's crumbling dikes to deserted city streets, China's unraveling reveals a regime more concerned with control than salvation. Social discontent, waning trust in the CCP. Public outrage against the Chinese Communist Party surges as charges of deceit and incompetence intensify. Reservoirs, shoddily constructed in the 1950s and 1970s and scorned as bean curd projects, buckle under relentless floodwater. Dr. Chen Hao, an environmental scientist, exposed the crisis. Over 3,500 reservoirs in Hunan are ticking time bombs. Built by untrained farmers, not engineers, they're no match for these deluges. Authorities, fixated on saving dams over lives, unleashed torrents without warning, obliterating downstream villages. On social media, citizens vent their fury. A Yuanling villager posted, they pose for aid photos, then abandon us to the floods. Charity appeals face scorn, with many donating a mere 0.01 yuan, sneering, why fund their corruption? A Shanghai netizen raged, The CCP brags about our global city, but the streets are deserted. They've driven us out with their lies. This disillusionment spans urban and rural divides, with elderly villagers over 60 scraping by, hawking produce to survive. Veiled truths, the CCP's grip falters. Behind polished statistics and propaganda, the CCP scrambles to hide a stark reality. China is unraveling under a cascade of crises, from Hunan's devastating floods to the looming specter of a Three Gorges Dam collapse, from shuttered industries to mass urban exodus. Systemic failures and secrecy reign. Official data is doctored to mask the crisis's depth. A Shanghai resident fumed. They say the population barely dipped, but our streets are ghostly. They claim economic stability, yet shops are boarded up. We've lost all trust. Poignant stories, a young girl balancing an orange on her head to sell goods for medicine, a father mourning his son lost to the floods, symbolize a nation's despair under a callous regime. A Hunan farmer declared, "We once trusted the CCP to shield us, but now we're forsaken. If Three Gorges fails, will they own up to the disaster?" China's broken dreams, a nation in economic and social ruin. The air is heavy with despair, the streets silent, the dreams shattered. China, once a beacon of relentless ambition and economic ascent, now stands as a shadow of its former self, consumed by a spiraling crisis that has left millions grappling with poverty, joblessness, and hopelessness. Businesses collapse under the weight of a faltering economy. Young graduates roam aimlessly without prospects, and even the elderly toil in fields to survive. Behind the CCP's polished propaganda lies a grim reality. A nation buckling under the strain of systemic failures, unchecked corruption, and a widening chasm between the ruling elite and the suffering masses. This is the story of a people betrayed, their voices stifled, their futures stolen. Through personal accounts and stark truths, we uncover the depth of China's unraveling and the CCP's role in this catastrophe. A personal collapse amid a national crisis. The economic storm has swept away livelihoods with ruthless precision. Take Mr. Wei, a 38-year-old entrepreneur from Changsha whose small manufacturing firm crumbled last year. "I poured everything into my business, savings, loans, years of my life," he said, his voice trembling. "Now it's gone. I owe 1.2 million yuan and my family can barely afford rice. The CCP promised prosperity, but all I see is ruin." His story is not unique. Across China, countless others share similar tales of shattered dreams. Ms. Lin, a 42-year-old former office manager in Guangzhou, lost her job when her company downsized. "I've applied to hundreds of jobs, but no one wants a middle-aged woman. The government says the economy is thriving, but that's a lie. They've abandoned us." The human toll is staggering. In Hefei, a provincial capital, workers like Mr. Zhang, a 35-year-old factory hand, earn a meager 10 yuan per hour, paid directly to a bank card. "They promised 25 yuan an hour, but when I showed up it was 15, then 10, he fumed. "Under this scorching sun, we slave away for pennies. The CCP brags about progress, but where's our share? They're hoarding wealth while we starve." His words echo a growing sentiment. The system is rigged, favoring the elite while ordinary citizens are left to fend for themselves. The rural burden, a legacy of sacrifice. In rural Hunan, the crisis cuts even deeper. Mr. Liu, a 29-year-old university graduate, returned to his village after failing to find work in the city. "My father toiled in the fields for 30 years, raised livestock for another decade, and spent 300,000 yuan to send me to college," he said bitterly. "I'm a 211 graduate, yet here I am, back in the dirt, farming and herding sheep. The CCP told us education was the path to success, but it's a trap. They've failed us." His story reflects a broader betrayal, a generation promised opportunity, only to inherit poverty. Rural life offers no respite. Ms. Yang, a 62-year-old farmer in Yuanling County, shared her struggle. "I sell vegetables at the market to survive, but the prices are so low I barely break even. The CCP builds skyscrapers in Beijing, but here we have no welfare, no support. They expect us to work until we drop dead. Her voice carries the weight of a lifetime spent laboring under a system that offers no safety net, no dignity for the elderly. The urban exodus, cities of ghosts. In urban centers, the economic collapse is starkly visible. Shanghai, once a glittering symbol of China's rise, now resembles a hollowed-out shell. The city's population has plummeted from 30 million to 25 million, with 380,000 residents fleeing in a single month. Shopping malls stand deserted, their neon signs flickering over empty corridors. Qibao's ancient streets, once bustling with tourists and vendors, are now eerily silent. A Shanghai blogger, Ms. Chen, vented her frustration. The CCP calls this a global metropolis, but it's a graveyard of dreams. They censor our complaints, hide the truth about job losses, and expect us to believe their lies about growth. I'm leaving this city, it's broken. In Zhejiang's Huzhou, the garment industry lies in tatters, with 80–90% of storefronts boarded up. Mr. Zhu, a street vendor in Zizhou, shared his plight. No one buys anymore. The CCP's crackdown on street vending has killed my livelihood. They favor big corporations while we're left to beg. This is worse than the pandemic. His words capture a pervasive sense of abandonment. As small businesses, once the backbone of China's economy, crumble under neglect and misguided policies. The unemployment crisis, a generation adrift. Unemployment has become a national scourge. Sparing no age group or sector, college graduates, once heralded as China's future, now face a jobless abyss. Mrs. Zhao, a 24-year-old graduate from Shenzhen, confessed, "I studied for years, but no one will hire me. I'm 200,000 yuan in debt, can't pay rent, and the CCP does nothing but silence our cries. They've stolen our future." Her despair is echoed by countless others, with youth unemployment hitting 21% in 2025, a record high according to official data, though many suspect the real figure is far worse. Even gig work offers no salvation. Mr. Sun, a 27-year-old delivery driver in Guangzhou, described his grueling reality. "I made 382 yuan today after 12 hours and 44 deliveries. Every yuan feels like risking my life." The CCP talks about economic miracles, but this is slavery, not progress. His exhaustion reflects a broader trend. Workers are pushed into cutthroat gig jobs, earning 2,000–3,000 yuan monthly, only to quit in despair. The labor market is flooded with overqualified workers, graduates with glasses and fair skin toiling in low-end jobs meant for the unskilled. A Hefei worker, Mr. Zhou, remarked, "If you earn less than 3,000 yuan a month here, you can't survive. Gas, subway, clothes, food, it all adds up." The CCP's policies make it impossible to live. Youth and despair. The rise of lying flat. The younger generation, once fueled by ambition, now embraces lying flat, a rejection of the relentless grind. Ms. Liang, a 22-year-old former intern in Beijing, explained, "I worked 12-hour shifts for 3,000 yuan a month, no benefits, no future. The CCP expects us to sacrifice our youth for their GDP, but why? I'd rather stay home, eat one meal a day and scroll through videos than live like a machine." Her choice reflects a growing movement among youth, who see no reward in toiling for a system that offers only debt and disillusionment. The CCP's response: censorship and denial. Social media posts about unemployment or business closures are swiftly deleted, labeled false information. A Guangzhou netizen using the alias Li Ming posted, "They silence us because the truth hurts." The CCP claims the job market is improving, but thousands sleep under bridges. I'm one of them, jobless, in debt, and hopeless. This system is rotten. His words highlight a chilling reality. The CCP's obsession with control overshadows the suffering of its people. The rural-urban divide, a system rigged against the masses. The crisis exposes a stark divide between urban elites and rural poor. In cities, the cost of living, subway fares, takeout, decent clothes, makes low wages unlivable. In rural areas, the lack of welfare and infrastructure leaves families like Mr. Liu's struggling to survive. The CCP builds high-speed rails for the rich, but leaves us with crumbling roads and no healthcare, he said. They've forgotten the countryside exists. His father, a farmer for decades, added, I spent my life savings on my son's education, believing the party's promises. Now he's back here, farming like me. What was it all for? This betrayal fuels resentment. Ms. Tang, a 45-year-old former factory worker in Hunan, accused the CCP of favoring cronies. Relief funds never reach us. They go to officials' pockets or shiny projects to impress foreigners. We're left to drown in debt and floods. Her words echo a growing consensus. The CCP's priorities lie with maintaining power, not uplifting its people. The collapse of hope, a society unraveling. The economic collapse has stripped away more than jobs, it's eroded hope itself. In Guangzhou, unemployed youth like Li Ming live under bridges, alongside others crushed by debt, depression, or divorce. There are thousands of us here, he said. The CCP hides us, pretends we don't exist, but we're the proof their system has failed. In Shenzhen, delivery workers and street vendors face harassment from authorities cracking down on informal economy. Wu, a 30-year-old vendor, shared, They confiscate my stall, fine me, and call it city management. The CCP wants us invisible, not helped. The Lunar New Year, once a time of celebration, brought no relief. Mr. Feng, a shop owner in Changsha, reflected, I've run my store for 12 years, but this year was a nightmare. No customers, no profit, just silence. The CCP's propaganda about a booming economy is a cruel joke. Closing his shop would mean abandoning a decade of effort, yet continuing feels futile. If I shut down, what's next? Compete with kids fresh out of college? The system's broken, and the CCP won't fix it. Censorship and cover-ups, the CCP's iron grip. The CCP's response to the crisis is not aid but suppression. Official narratives claim falling unemployment and economic recovery, yet reality tells a different story. Online, posts about joblessness or bankruptcies vanish within hours. A Hefei resident, Ms. Gao, fumed, I posted about my factory closing and it was deleted in minutes. The CCP fears the truth more than the crisis itself. Charity drives, meant to aid flood victims and the unemployed, are met with scorn. Many donate just 0.01 yuan, commenting, why give to corrupt officials who steal it all? This censorship fuels a deeper crisis, the collapse of trust. A Yuanling farmer, Mr. Hu, declared, we believed the CCP would protect us, but they've left us to rot. They hide the unemployed, the homeless, the dead, anything that tarnishes their image. His words reflect a nation at a breaking point where the gap between propaganda and reality grows ever wider. A generation's cry, why must we suffer? The question haunts millions. Why must the Chinese people endure such hardship? Children grow up without play, burdened by endless study. Teenagers sacrifice youth for grueling jobs. Adults face joblessness and debt, with no joy to sustain them. The elderly toil without welfare, denied even a dignified rest. A Shenzhen graduate, Mr. Yang, summed it up. The CCP promised us a Chinese dream, but it's a nightmare. I'm 35 with a master's degree, and I'm selling fruit at a market because it's all I can do. They've crushed our hope. The streets tell the same story. Pedestrian markets, once alive with commerce, now stand empty, for rent signs plastered on shuttered storefronts. In Guangzhou, narrow alleys that once buzzed with vendors are now desolate. This is the worst year in decades, said Ms. Zhou, a 50-year-old shopkeeper. The CCP's policies have killed small businesses. They don't care about us, only their power. A nation at the precipice. China today is a grim tableau of converging crises. Floods, economic collapse, and rising public fury. Hunan's deluge has not only erased homes and livelihoods, but laid bare the CCP's systemic failures. The Three Gorges Dam, once a symbol of triumph, now threatens millions downstream with catastrophic failure. In cities like Shanghai, a mass flight sees residents forsake urban dreams for rural survival, only to encounter poverty and inequity. This is a clarion call for a country teetering on collapse. Will the CCP face these mounting challenges or cling to hollow propaganda and deception? From farmers laboring in fields to jobless graduates, the Chinese people demand answers. Share your views below and stay tuned for updates on this escalating crisis. Subscribe and enable notifications for our upcoming reports. Thank you for standing with us.